Buyers are coming through your house. They said it showed great. They loved it. And then this is what we hear. Crickets. Nothing. What is happening in the market where we see so many buyers coming through and no offer? That's the problem. We're getting showings, but no offers. Well, we are experiencing this as well here at Jenny Smith and Associates. So I thought today I would tell you based on research. So I'm looking at what other agents are saying. I'm looking at what our own buyers are telling us when we're showing and really kind of analyzing the data. So I also worked with AI, gave it some information and said what could be happening that we're getting this many showings and no offers. And this is what I'm here to tell you. There's three main things. Are you ready? Well, here we go. All right. So first, we're going to title this section Comparison Fatigue. Now, what does that mean? Buyers have more choices right now than they've had in years. And listen, the interest rates are lower than they've been since 2022. So there's a lot of excitement for housing, and that's a great thing. But what happens is as you walk through those houses, you start comparing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you forget what was A. So we've got some comparison fatigue. So how can I help you if you're a buyer kind of work through not getting so fatigued? I tell everybody we work with, like if I was showing you a house, when we show up to show you a house, we're going to give you what we call the MLS data sheet. And that's going to have facts on the house in just one little photo. And I want, as you go through that house, at the end of it, to make a decision that this house is still in the running or it's not. Now, personally, if you tell me it's not in the running, I like tear it in half and throw it in my back seat. But because I don't want it clouding when we keep going, and I want to get that list down to the houses that I really, really love or really want to consider. So that's the first thing I tell you if you're a buyer, because listen, that comparison fatigue makes you tired too. It makes the experience of buying a house kind of lose some of its pop and fun. So get it out if you don't like it. If you do like it, write down just a couple words on it of what pops out to you. Was it the backyard, the fireplace, the kitchen? Just so when you go home at night, you can kind of think, here's what I loved about this house. Now, for my sellers, if you want your house to not be one of the ones that gets that fatigue, it has to have some kind of wow factor. It can have a wow factor that's a feature of the home. Listen, sometimes the wow factor is how clean it is. You just want to make sure, like, what is my wow factor? Is it a feature? Is it how clean? What is it? And make sure that that is popping when people come through. All right, so second is what we're going to call the in-person and the online disconnect. So typically online, your photos look great because if you're working with a good agent, they have gotten professional photos and they just kind of tweak them a little, a lot in some cases. And we don't want them tweaked a lot because we don't want people walking in and feeling like they're in a different house. But if you've got a good photographer, they're making that house look as good as they can. They're brightening the lights up. They're just making sure there's not dark shadows. So when somebody gets there, if there's a disconnect, like it looks better online than it does in person. We don't want that because remember, online, you also can't smell anything. And when you walk into a house, you can smell what that house smells like. So if you're a buyer, what can you do? You want to make sure that you're remembering as you walk through that door what appealed to you at first. But really this tip, this part is mainly for sellers because this you control. You want to make sure if your house is up for sale, I'm telling you, if I had my house up for sale, every day. When I left for work, I turn on all my lights. I'd have my blinds and my curtains open because I would be hoping and expecting and just want to be ready for a showing, especially if I had a job where I couldn't go home and do it for the showing. So that makes such a difference, especially as we move into March and end February. If we walk into that house and it's dark and dreary, the buyer feels that emotion. If they walk into your house and it smells, they feel that emotion. Now, when we're talking about smells, most of us have a dog in the house. So, like for us, we've got Maggie. And if I had my house up for sale, I would go buy her a new bed to make sure, because those beds hold on to smell sometimes. So I would be buying her a new bed. And if she laid on blankets or something like that, I would be giving them a good washing every couple of days, way more than I do when my house isn't for sale. Because a lot of times that is where the smell in your house is kind of trapped, is where the dog sleeps. And you can fix that pretty quickly. And then, like I said, get that light, let that natural light in, because you want your house to pop from the moment they walk in and them to feel like, I like this. It really matches. Another thing about online photos is they don't show dirt the same way dirt shows up in person. So sometimes you'll go into a house and you'll just be like, ooh, it's just a little bit grimy. The light switches got some stuff on them from dinner the night before. So you want to make sure, if you have your house up for sale, that you are giving it a good, deep cleaning more than once. Just keep that sucker clean, because sometimes you want them to walk in and be like, this is the cleanest house I've been in. Now, you can live in your house, but you want it clean as much as possible. Then the third category are things that you can't change. You're going to have to price for them. So that would be like your location, that would be your view, what kind of backyards you have. Now, what am I talking about those? Well, you can't price your home in our northern counties with no easy I-75 access the same as you can in right here in Cartersville, where you can be on the interstate in a matter of moments. It's a little bit different of a market. If you can't commute easy, it's a different type of buyer. Your location is one of those things you want to make sure when you're pricing your house that you are pricing on the same type of location as that house is. Second, you got to realize, if you have a steep driveway, if you have a driveway that goes down, if it's not level in the backyard, if there is no backyard, if you back up to some kind of crazy, hideous neighbors, all of those things are things you can't change, but you have to price it in, because when somebody compares your house to one that doesn't have that, the other house is always going to win if you have the same price. And then third is just kind of that funky layout inside. Man, you know what I'm talking about, a funky layout. Sometimes you'll go in a house and you'll be like, okay, if I park here, I have to walk all the way from the bedrooms, through the living room, through a bathroom. Oh, I found the kitchen. So sometimes those funky layouts are fun when you're the one who wants them, but not so fun for buyers looking. So I think this is what's happening with buyers, is they've got more houses. They're comparing your house. We're used to, as a seller, you didn't have so many houses being compared, and you kind of had a little bit of an advantage. If there was only a couple houses in your price point, it wasn't so hard to stand out. And remember, like I said earlier in another video, your price right now has to also be attracting views online, and then what they see online has to attract them through that front door, and then as they walk through that front door, what they see and smell has to attract them enough that they get out that pen and they write an offer. I hope this tip helps you sell your house, and I hope that my sign is in your yard.